Hey y'all, welcome to SwampTalk, the podcast where we talk about things that's important but being left in the dark. Bear with me, man. I'm trying to pull stuff up here on the phone. Yeah, tonight we're going to be talking about our gun rights and DIY stuff as far as building your own guns and uh, some of the stuff that is commonly thought not to be allowed, but actually there's nothing wrong with it, which a lot of us that are in the gun community know some of this stuff already, but it's stuff that is so commonly misrepresented that the average person that's not as much into the gun community might think that it's actually true. Give a couple of shout outs to some of the people in the chat real quick. Thanks to Walter P380 and the safety doc for showing up early. And excuse me, Gun Doctor and Night Strike. Glad to see y'all in here. And Man Against the Masses, your patch is in the mail, brother. And Appalachian Gun Runner. I'm gonna go ahead and play the intro for y'all, and then we'll bring in the guests and get this show started. And now to welcome y'all, the guests to the show, we got Rogue Banshee, we got Jordan Stein from GOA, Jordan Vinroe from Jsd Supply, and Rod from Aegis Gun Care, our surprise guest, sponsor of the show. How y'all doing this evening?
Doing pretty good.
Doing
Thanks
good.
for having me on.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little intimidated here. I got a lot of big names here surrounding me.
You're the only name I recognize, so. Jason.
You're the star. That's why you're right in the center there, or somewhere there.
Yeah. Well, you see, we had to save the best for last. That's why you're, well, yeah, there. Yeah.
Well, I think the last to come on was JSD, so you were right. The best for last.
I just hit the wrong button
There you
a couple
go.
times as well.
Well, yeah. I was having problems with my laptop.
Yeah, I see some people commenting about the intro.
Yeah, I saw you sent that link out earlier. I'm like, man, I need you to do the intro of mine.
Yeah, that's a pretty badass intro.
Well, just hit me up.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive.
I appreciate. I can't take credit for the whole thing, but I did purchase the license.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of the stuff that's some of the stuff I appreciate more than even doing the videos is the actual editing side of things and coming up with stuff like that. Like the main intro, especially in 3D, which is what it was intended for from the get-go for my channel. I spent probably 3 weeks working on that and tweaking it until everything was just the way I wanted it, and I've had so much feedback on it that it just it solidified that it was something worth keeping doing. But yeah, to get it back onto the track for the episode, Jordan, you want to talk a little bit about GOA
Yeah, I'd love to. So I'm Jordan Stein. I'm the Southeast Regional Director for GOA, and GOA is known as the only no-compromise gun rights lobby in Washington, D.C., and a state capital near you. And we're a gun rights group that actually believes that shall not be infringed means just that, shall not be infringed. And that's what we tell the Congress critters in D.C. and the state representatives at the state capitol down to the local level. And I like to tell people this, that our job is to put ourselves out of a job. That's our mindset. That's how we approach things. And one day, it's our earnest goal to have every gun control law on the books repealed. No chance of them coming back, and we can all kick our feet back up and have a second career or something. But that's our goal. We got a long ways to go before we get there. But that's how we do that. And that's what we do, and I think more and more people are coming to the no compromise side of things with guns, because I think people are realizing that if you just concede a little bit of ground, the anti-gunners, they'll never be satisfied, and they'll always want more. So when you compromise, you give away a little bit, you'll end up with nothing left. And that's why we say, look, no more infringements. In fact, we want our rights back. And that's our approach to politics. Is pretty confrontational. So,
Well, that's definitely better than putting your head in the sand.
no, I think we're on the front lines in many cases of fighting many battles from the county level to the state to Washington and the courts and really everywhere in between. We're fighting a multi-front war, sadly. So
There you go. And how about Jordan on the bottom? Why don't you tell us a little bit about JSD for the folks out there that aren't already familiar with y'all?
Yeah, sure. So Jordan with JSD Supply, we sell 80% receivers, parts, kits. Just kind of moved into some 3D print parts kits. So we try to have unique accessories, unique lineup of do-it-yourself, home-built type of products. So we're fighting right along there with GOA. We support them a ton, and then they support us a ton as well. So we're up in Pennsylvania, and they've gone to bat for us a few times, and so we totally appreciate everything GOA does. And so yeah, we're trying to make home building and DIY firearms a normal and mainstream process, and a thought as another option to buying a firearm. You still have this similar thought to building one. So that's kind of our goal, is the mainstream home built firearms.
Awesome. Yeah, I missed the middle of that, but I'm back.
Oh, it was all good. I said a bunch of nice stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Well, I sure appreciate it. At least I know that I have a good group of folks here that ain't going to stab me in the back when I walk out. As far as I know, anyway.
Yeah.
I liked how
good.
every single one of y'all was completely silent after I said that. But yeah, and let's go up to Rogue. Why don't you tell us about you and what you do, brother?
I'm a nobody. Nobody watches my channel. Nobody cares what I have to say. No, I have a YouTube channel called the Rogue Banshee. I'm active on social media, on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. Imagine that, the Rogue Banshee. My channel is originally started out being a gunsmithing channel. But then you quickly find out you run into some problems with YouTube when you do that all the time. So I kind of morphed into podcast and gun reviews and building a lot of Jordan's products and showing people how to put those things together. But yeah, it's just I started shooting back when I was 10, it just kind of went from there, and just naturally progressed into video.
Awesome. Well, I for one enjoy your content and the way that you present, especially some of the DIY stuff. It's helped me on a couple of projects.
That's kind of why I did it. It's I saw other channels out there, and I've watched YouTube channels on how to do things, and they talk about it, and then you're looking at the video and you just can't see what they did. So that's kind of how I came up with the format is, how do I get this to the point where you can actually see what I'm doing? And it takes a lot of time in editing, but I'm glad that you do that, because it's exactly why I put that content out there, is so that everybody can kind of maintain their own guns. And you never know when, like for me, I live out in the boonies. I know, you live out a little farther away from town, and instead of taking your gun into town to go get a gunsmith to do some work, you might be able to fix it yourself.
Yeah, and I like the way that you described all of that, and that's literally what got me started with trying to do the 3D videos in the first place. It's morphed into a lot more than that now, but I got into it while I was going into gunsmith school, wanting to pursue things more than just a hobby, as a way of being able to document some of that stuff for not just myself, but for other folks, and having that extra depth of the 3D, and then therefore the VR that goes hand in hand with that, is a level of reference that you can't get from any kind of book or something like that.
No, you can't. And that's why when we first met and you were talking about the 3D videos, I'm like, that's really cool, because you do get a completely different point of view off that 3D than you do just out of the standard 2D of video. So I was really excited to hear that someone was kind of going down that route.
Yeah, and I think that you and, I don't know, Rod, have you seen any of the 3D stuff? I don't think I've actually met you in person, have I?
No, we haven't. So I haven't really got a chance.
Okay, well then, yeah,
y'all
y'all two are at a disadvantage, because both Jordans have seen the 3D stuff in person.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I haven't seen
absolutely.
it on my Oculus yet. I want to get my headset going. I keep forgetting to pull it up. I'm usually trying to kill zombies or something with mine. So,
Well, not quite shameless, I guess a shameful admission. I didn't watch a single one of my videos in VR until 2 weeks ago. I've been doing all this and setting everything, and I never actually watched it in a headset. So the first time I did, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this really is what I've been trying to tell folks." Because I have the glasses free 3D, and that's one thing.
right.
But having that immersion of the VR is totally different. And for the folks that have watched the videos on YouTube just on the phone or a computer where you can move it around and stuff, that's cool and all. But the headset is a whole nother level.
Cool.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse deal.
Yeah.
Are you beating him to the punch on that?
He has to. He has to have been. When he was coming up with those 3D worlds, I don't think they ever thought that SwampTalk would be coming along and going, "Hey, this stuff that we totally want to suppress and kill. We're gonna make sure that we try to beat SwampDog out to it, so that way it just stays dead forever."
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because when I was trying to do some of the filming at this recent range day with the VR and 3D stuff, some of the folks was like, "Okay, cool," and then like Jordan nose. I went over, finally showed up with the camera, and then like it was like turning on the lights, and like everyone like literally scattered. He was like just standing in the middle of the booth by himself. People's like, yeah, it's cool until it's pointed at you.
Yeah, I know a lot of people get camera shy really quick. Unfortunately, I don't have that problem, so I always can hop up for an interview anytime. So
Yeah, I would imagine that you're probably
There
used
you
to
go.
cameras and
Well,
microphones jammed in your face there, Jordan.
what's that? I didn't hear all of it.
I would imagine you're pretty used to having cameras and microphones stuck in your face.
Yeah, I don't know why they keep doing it with all the crazy stuff I say, but I've been blessed to do some interviews. I've been on Fox and the Way In and a couple places like that. But I like doing YouTube stuff like this, and Hank Strange and other places. It's I think you can dive deeper into the issues without having to worry about like a commercial break or something. And I love this content much more than the traditional media stuff. So this is where I like to be.
It gets closer to your audience
go.
too. You don't have such a broad
Yeah.
viewership.
But yeah, I was wanting to say back to Jordan Stein. Do you want to talk about some of the recent accomplishments y'all have done? If you want to start with talking about the bump stocks.
Sure. Well, we can talk about bump stocks. We're the only organization who has a victory in the bump stock case, and it is currently before the Sixth Circuit, and they will rule again and continue that case with bump stocks. We're prepared to take that to the Supreme Court if necessary. So that's definitely something on the horizon. And since JSD Jordan is on the show, I wanted to kind of brag on our Pennsylvania people a little bit. For the first time in history, I believe, in the Keystone State in Pennsylvania, the constitutional carry has passed the legislature. So that is huge. That's a big accomplishment, and it's taken a lot of work from our Pennsylvania director Val, who works tirelessly in Pennsylvania, and people like Jordan who help us. And the governor is a little less freedom-minded than other some other governors. So it might be hard getting him to sign it, but still getting that vote is really important. And I'll tell you why. It exposes the weak members of the legislature, right? It really shows who you can count on and who you can who'd replace. And believe it or not, there were a couple Democrats who actually voted for a constitutional carry at the state level, but there was also a handful of Republicans who voted against it. So those are people who we're going to target and try to boot them out of office next election, because they run on a pro-gun ticket, and yet they don't vote pro-gun. In fact, they vote against us. So it's really key. It's really useful, and a great way to advance our right and have a more pro-gun legislature. And then we can work on getting a governor who's a little bit more pro-gun, and Pennsylvania could join the Constitutional Carry Club. So that is a great accomplishment. And then moving a little south little closer down the East Coast, I'll talk about Virginia. The elections there shocked the nation. I believe it was well over a decade since a Republican had won in statewide in the Old Dominion, and it was really. Honestly, I was pessimistic. Because I lived in Virginia for a couple years, in Northern Virginia, where it's really blue, and I just didn't think it could overcome. But I think voters turned out in mass, especially in the rural areas where I saw the really pro-gun areas. I think the gun vote had a big say in this. That maybe isn't getting as much airtime as some of the other issues, but I think that also shows a consequence of you pass gun control and then you get booted out of office, right? Because not only did the anti-gun Terry McAuliffe not win, he lost, but also down the ballot, the Winston Sears, she's really pro-gun, she's hardcore, she won. The Attorney General, the pro-gun Attorney General, he won. And then even bigger, the state delegate, the House of Delegates, it flipped, right? So that is really key to at least to stop the bleeding in Virginia, right? I don't think there'll be any gun control that will pass, at least in this immediate session. And GOA is currently working on some legislation that we think could be passed even in this divided House. Because then, don't forget, in Virginia, the Democrats still control the state Senate. That was not up for re-election this past cycle. So, so we can't just pass everything we want right now because we don't have the complete House. But when the Senate's up, we'll look to take that back over and not only undo all of the awful gun control they passed, red flag laws, universal background checks, one gun a month, and more, but also make Virginia a constitutional carry state and get rid of gun-free zones and all the things that gun owners need. So those have been two big victories that GOA has been directly involved with. All of the GOA endorsed candidates in Virginia won, and we did a lot of grassroots activism for that we really had never done before. We did that in Virginia in contacting voters and making sure they got out and got to the polls, and I think that was really key. And yeah, so those are just some examples of GOA and our approach and some of our victories.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was shocked to see Virginia go the way it did. That's pretty close to home for us too. I mean, we do some gun shows in Virginia and we get tons of customers down there and stuff like that. So, I mean, any anti-freedom laws we don't want to see anywhere in the country, but seems like the closer to Pennsylvania these crazy people get, it bleeds over. We're seeing it from New Jersey, from New York, Maryland. Like you said, our governor's not going to sign constitutional carry, but it's huge and very important to get the vote on that and get it on the record and see who voted for what, who didn't vote for it. And like you said, we need to get those people out. So that's huge for Virginia and GOA and everybody involved in getting the word out there. I think regular people understand that we need firearms. When you're not packed into a city and listening to all these talking heads say all the same just tiring nonsense, they realize that, yeah, we need firearms. The police aren't going to save me. Look at these riots. Look at the Kenosha situation right now. They understand that it's our rights and we need it as a free people. So that's great for Virginia, and I'd like to see the rest of the country go that way. New Jersey almost flipped governors to Republican governor. I mean, that was super close. So that was crazy too. A state like that is going to go so close to flipping is, I think, promising for the next election cycle here. So you guys just keep it up, and we'll support that and keep it moving.
I think 2022, all the political pundits are saying it's going to be a pretty good year for Republicans. So that makes the primaries coming up so critical, right? Because if we all like to complain about the rhinos and the turncoat Republicans and everything, but the time to kick them out of office most of the time is in the primaries. So,
right.
And that's what GOA is doing. We've already made some announcements for some big races. I know in North Carolina, we've endorsed Ted Budd for the Senate. That's a huge race. He's a proven champion of the Second Amendment and a gun guy himself. There's other races that we'll have coming out to where we'll make some key endorsements, and Richard Burr. And this is kind of exactly what I'm talking about. Richard Burr, North Carolina's current senator, he's retiring. That's why it's an open seat. But he's kind of meh on gun rights. He's never voted that bad, but he's never been a champion. He's just kind of one of those milquetoast Republicans. And if we could champion Ted Budd and get him in there, we'll have another fighter. Who will he'll lay down the law when it comes to the Second Amendment and just really empower gun owners and be another fighter, because we need them. We need less Richard Burrs and more Ted Budds in the Senate. So the primaries are the time to get active and get involved. So
for sure.
Jordan Stein. The one thing I like that you said there is you're talking about getting them out early. And I think that's one of the problems that voters have right now is they don't pay attention until we get into the general election.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they become interested in whatever they're interested in. And, one of the things that I have with a problem with gun owners now is they're lazy. They just want to be told, okay, go to the poll, vote red, and you'll have your gun rights. It doesn't quite work that way, right? I mean, we like you were talking about, there are candidates that are red that are, let's just face it, they're not necessarily the most gun-friendly candidates out there. And I think it's important that voters get involved earlier. I mean, that's why I like GOA, is because, I mean, you guys are just relentless at getting the message out. And definitely, we as gun owners, I mean, not everybody is a political advocate. I mean, quite frankly, you don't want me to be standing out there in the evening news. I will not be a good advocate for gun rights, but I can still contact my local representatives. I can contact my federal representatives. And I think more people need to do that. Even if they're not going, pounding on their doors, they need to go, hey, look, I don't support this. Whatever's going on, this is what I don't support. And that's what I like about Virginia, with that election went that way, is it's basically told people just got fed up. And like what Jordan Vinroe was saying about Jersey, I was watching that Jersey one, and that shocked me, the way that election was going. And then even then, you have a trucker who unseated the Senate president in New Jersey. I mean, a guy who spent, what was it, like $3,000 on his campaign as a total, versus it was like what, $300,000 or $400,000 the other guy spent.
Yeah, something stupid. Yeah.
I mean, people need to get involved, because they need to see that we lost our way of, we elected people here, go deal with this for us. We need to take that back. And get involved. And that's why I like that whole grassroots effort that GOA has.
You know what you said though, Rogue, the thing about the truck driver, what's cool about that is a lot of people lost hope. Like, oh, it's just all corrupt, it's gone. And then when that happened, it's just like, oh wait, there's hope now. It isn't totally gone.
It's that holy crap moment.
Yeah. It's like, oh God, we're still in this.
Yeah.
Don't back down.
Yeah. And I'll make this comment. Voting is the least you can do, right? That's the bare minimum that every gun owner should be doing, right? There is so much more you can do when it comes to do it. Find a candidate you support who is thorough on the Second Amendment. And GOA will have especially for the congressional races, will have a voter guide that will rate the candidates and tell you their views. But I encourage people to get involved with the candidates, whether it's at the congressional or state level, and to help them reach voters, right? And whether that could be a donation or whether that could be going out and knocking doors or making phone calls or texting or whatever, some of that's not fun. I've knocked a lot of doors in my day and it's not fun, but it does make a difference. Reaching voters, answering their questions, giving them the tools of the information they need to vote, and being sure they get out to the polls. Another thing we can do is poll watch. If many people are concerned about election fraud or election integrity, well, go to the polls and watch and observe, and then you can call out if there's anything suspicious. I've done this, right? So it's not like I'm telling people to do something I haven't done or saying to brag, but this is what I care about, and so I do this, and I'll do a little story. I was in the 2020 general election. I was poll watching, and you're an poll observer, right? You can't do much. All you can do is observe, right? But it was early voting, and it was at the end of the night, and there were some ballots, and I was in a very red conservative area. Keep that in mind. But there were ballots that I guess for some reason the machines didn't read correctly, and it spat them out in a different area. And so what the poll workers did is that they filled in the ballots. And from where I was sitting, I couldn't see if they were filling in the ballots as they were filled out originally, or if they were switching votes. And so I made a report, and the board of elections apologized and swore up and down it would never do. They would, that would never happen again, and everything. And I think that the people at the Board of Elections were innocent. I think they were just trying to get home early. But still, suspicious stuff like that could happen. And if we're not there to watch it and call it out, then who knows? So I say all that to say, voting is the minimum you can do. There is so much more you can do to save our country. And if you believe in the Second Amendment, and if it means something to you, then this is worth your time. This is worth the battle. So it's just something to consider.
It's important for people to remember that even a little act can matter. The important thing is to take action.
Absolutely.
So, Rogue, you want to talk a little bit about 3D printing or DIY gun building?
I could talk a lot about both. So my whole introduction to we'll just call it DIY guns was really I was an FFL at the time, and it's all fun to sell guns and do stuff like that, but then you start wondering about how these guns are made. And I started going into that because my first DIY gun was a 1911, and that is one of the hardest guns to cut your teeth on in just regular gunsmithing, yet alone 80% builds. And it was a fun build. I enjoyed it. I took my time, and I came up with something that was completely unique, because just because you have a kit, and you put it together, doesn't mean that you necessarily need to stop there. I went through dehorning the slide and smoothing it out, and just really customizing the gun to what I thought was going to happen. From there, my next build was actually one of JSD's guns, the P320 build, and that was a fun build for me to go. And then it just kind of rolled into other things there. It's just, you get a chance to have pride in what you've done, what you've built, and then you can change it just a little bit to make it unique. No one else has that gun. No one else has a gun that was built by you. You have that. And then, going into 3D printing, 3D printing is it's such an amazing technology, especially since the printer behind me I bought it for $300, brand new $300, and it does an amazing job. I mean, it's a little harder to do 3D printing because you have, like you with your videos, you're going in 3-dimensional. You now need to think 3-dimensionally on a computer and then have it come out on that printer. And then on top of that, you can choose what material you use. If you get into a little more, a little more advanced concepts, like I see Flying Rich is in the chat there, some of the stuff he's doing with there, he's creating a bullpup pistol. Sorry, I think my internet just cut out there for a second.
Oh, you didn't look awkward at all. Don't worry about it.
You sure?
Yeah, you look awkward. No, not at all.
No pauses like that.
Nah, hey, you're good.
So no, I mean, it brings in a whole new thing, but then it also brings in a whole gun rights issue of, we have certain states that don't understand that a 3D printed gun, they think that you just throw this thing out, it spits a gun out, you pick it up and you go shoot it. There's a lot more that goes into these things than just 3D printing it. When you pull it off the printer, you have to pull certain pieces of plastic out that you need to actually build bridges to support things, and you got to pull them out. And then you've got to, believe it or not, put metal into these things because you can't put a slide right onto a piece of plastic you pulled off of a printer. And that's where a lot of these politicians, they hear gun, homemade gun, they freak out that people are just going to spit these things off, and then we're just going to have these guns everywhere. It's like, there are some things that you need to do, and you need to understand certain concepts of it. Instead of fighting this thing, you should be actually rejoicing it. People are actually using their brains to figure things out. I said in a letter that I wrote when it was the whole homemade gun regulation, when I commented on that, I said that we should be, today's DIY gun builder just might be tomorrow's John Browning. We should be, we should be enjoying this. This is a freedom that we've had. It's a, I think I said in my letter, this is an American pastime that predates America. Before we were even a country, we had people building their own guns, maintaining their own guns. This is not new. It's just technology is catching up that we can do this, and we're just revisiting our roots with the guns.
So what are you trying to say? I can't just print one off of my HP? I'd run right down the street with it?
You could. I don't know if you get too far with it. I would imagine that the second you try to clean that with the solvent and the lube that you've got there, I think you might have a little problem with the paper.
I'll use thick paper. I'll be good.
Use some cardstock.
Yeah, we'll be good. I got
something. Just sounds fishy to me. Building something to contain an explosion that is built out of a flammable material.
What's wrong with that? What could possibly go wrong?
So is that coming out next, JSD, the printed paper kit?
Yeah, it's going to be the origami edition.
I want to do a video on that.
That's what I was thinking of. I couldn't think of that word.
Will it be black and white or color on my printer? I'd like to know which one I can.
It'll be black and white, but you got to make sure your colored ink is full too. Just because
I'm out of black.
You got to have that infill.
Yeah.
The ink's going to cost more than ammo does nowadays anyway. So
true. Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
I'm going to give one of those a shot one of these days. I've been always scared to death to do one myself. So afraid I'm going to spend that money, then I'm just going to totally screw it up and just have less than a paperweight left.
When you start doing the, are you talking about the 3D printed or are you talking about the 80%?
No, just the 80%ers.
There is so many resources out there that if you screw it up, it's kind of hard now. I mean, if you start off,
that sounds like a challenge to me.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to push you out. I mean, now that you're at least 8 hours away from me, rather than halfway across the country. Well, actually, the southern border. I'm at the northern border, but when you start off with like a polymer 80, those builds are pretty easy. There's some gotchas with them, but they're not very hard. I mean, if you have a Dremel and half a brain, which I know you do, you're good. I mean, it's pretty hard to screw them up. Now, I'm not saying it's not impossible. I've screwed one up. I actually did a video on my screw up and how I fixed it, but that was just the jig just didn't snap together. But Rod, if you stay with like polymer 80 in the Glock 17 or the Glock 19, it's pretty hard to screw that build up. Plus, you can email Jordan; he'll help you out.
Yeah, we'll tell you that.
He'll laugh and go, "You did what?" and hang up.
Only thing to watch out for with the 80% kits is sometimes if the parts are out of spec and you wouldn't know beforehand.
Yeah, the lower parts kit.
I was going to say, looking at you, Strike 80.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a slight mold issue there with the cooling and the drooping of the front dust cover.
Question for y'all. Most of y'all are into 3D printing already. Have any of y'all seen the new movie on Netflix with Ryan Reynolds and The Rock, Red Notice?
No.
Not yet.
I don't believe I
Okay,
have.
well, you don't. The reason I'm saying you don't have to watch the whole thing. Just watch the first 5 to 15 minutes, and it'll be worth your time. Trust me. That's the first movie that I've seen that literally starts out and is including. I'm pretty sure it's a resin 3D printing thing and a whole montage about it. But I'll leave it at that as to not spoil it for you.
Now you got me interested. I might have to watch that this weekend.
As I was going to say, whether you're in the camp of boycotting Rock and Ryan Reynolds and all that other stuff, if you're into 3D printing, watch the first. I think it goes about the first 15 minutes or so of that. Which also brings up another point. What would happen if you was to 3D print, say, a G19 frame and dumped half a can of Coke on it?
It would really depend. It depends on the material you printed it with. I mean, I've had other cleaners on it. Nothing that Rod does, because that's all my stuff now. It hasn't really affected it, but really what kills 3D printed guns is heat. If you go out and print, out of PLA, which is what just about everybody prints out of, and it's made out of corn, believe it or not. And you just print something out. It doesn't even have to be a gun. You just put it on your dashboard of your car in the summertime. When you get back, it's not going to be the same shape that you had it as. So, heat is more of an enemy than pouring a Coke on it. Now, if you mix
Yeah, I
some
knew the
Mentos in
answer
there,
to that.
who knows?
It was a leaded question.
Ah, yes. As Rich said, leave it on your
Then you'll have
dashboard
a
in
desktop.
Florida. Yeah. But yeah, it's mostly heat is the killer of that. You have other materials that you can print out of it. It'll be a little more, shall we say, solvent safe. But I mean, that's the whole thing. Is a 3D printed gun is not going to last forever. It's not going to be the same quality as your composites that are injection molded and stuff like that. They just don't hold up quite as well. But the whole idea of a 3D printed gun is that, if you spend like $3 printing one of these things out, when it breaks, you destroy it and you print another one and then just keep going.
Yeah, it's the so cheap, just replace it type of deal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what should
Where
fit into our
basically,
consumer
kind of what
environment?
you're saying is the whole frame is pretty much a consumable part.
It totally is. I mean, really, at that point, you just pull the guts out of it. When you're talking about, in a Glock frame, you pull a couple of pins out, you pull the whole guts out, and then you just pop it into your next frame and keep on going.
Okay, Rogue. With that being said, since I've never shot a 3D printed gun, I've been around one. So what problem do you have if you just start mag dumping a bunch, just start slamming through mags, rapid firing?
It depends on the skills of the person 3D printing them. Let's just put it that way. There's things that you can do to make the quality better. Usually speed kills quality in 3D printing. The faster you print, the worse the quality is. The layers, because you're actually oozing out plastic in a line.
Yeah.
So you need that plastic to adhere to the layer beneath it. So if you're looking at someone who really knows what they're doing, a mag dump, you're probably, I've seen videos of mag dumps, and they've held together fine. I don't know if I want to do sustained mag dumps. I don't know if I'd want to do a meltdown video with one, but yeah, you could do it. I've done a mag dump with one of my frames and didn't have a problem with it.
Well, there's a video for you. Do mag dumps with one to see how long it'll go till it.
Yeah, but that'll get yanked off of a certain video platform really fast.
We took a few 3D printed Glocks and things down to Big Daddy Unlimited shoot. Was it last week? They all held up pretty well. We had one crack right at the trigger housing pin in the very back, but that was kind of one of those extra long handles, goofy meme guns. But all the standard ones have held up. But yeah, I mean, they're going to break probably eventually, and we're not the best at 3D printing them. So we just kind of wanted to crank them out to have some colorful displays for the shoot. So yeah, double-handed one. Yeah, but they're a lot of fun. You can print them any color. I mean, we had pink ones, blue ones, green, whatever you can come up with. Sparkly ones.
Well, and kind of going on 3D printing, with Jordan from JSD, they had the makers match. Well, now there's been 2 of them, right? So
yeah, there's another one in Colorado, and there's one coming up. I think it's this weekend in this weekend in Massachusetts. I think Cape Gun Works.
So and the whole idea
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. Yeah. There you go. The whole idea of makers match.
Yeah, because we're sponsoring a shooter.
That's cool. I didn't get the check didn't cash for me, so that's why I'm not going.
I would have made it, except for it being right in the middle of the busiest part of deer season. Gun season literally starts this weekend.
Well, that's, you know, it's kind of like out here in Montana when you hit hunting season, nobody's around. Everybody's up in the hills trying to get their elk. So, yeah, I would see that.
Yeah, well, my main job that I do is I work deer processing all fall, and that I make that money to last for the rest of the year. So the deer coming in steadily pretty much from now until I'll be busy till end of January, pretty much nonstop now. Once the gun season hits, we don't have any empty space in the coolers.
So what you're saying is that they should do the Discovery Channel should do like Deadliest Catch, only it's like I don't know, Deadliest Deer Cutting or something.
Yeah, that game processors.
Game processor. There you go.
Hey, don't talk about that anymore. That might be a good show we need to work on.
Yeah.
I was literally supposed to say I could have a few places in mind. You know, I pretty much know some of the biggest places from here to the next couple states. But that is actually something that I'm going to be doing this year. Is I'm going to be doing a video series from up there, doing full. I'm going to have to get some help getting the actual hunting part of the video done, but going to do the full like farm to table type build, but showing or video, but showing how to break it down and what kind of cuts of the meat is like what you would want to make steaks out of and what you would grind up for your burger and all that, and then do a couple of recipe videos cooking the different things towards the end.
Well, you're a gunsmith. I actually think you should start with building the gun, choosing the caliber, putting the rifle together, choosing the optics, going out, shoot, and then go through the processing and cooking. You should start all the way down from that.
I was just fixed to say I had not thought of that, but yes, that's the answer right there. That's what it needs to do.
Yeah, I think that would be kind of cool. Mr. Snow.
Welcome, Mr. Snow, to the show.
Oh, you guys were talking about 3D printing, and it was driving me nuts. I couldn't do it. I could not abide. Greetings.
But yeah,
all.
why don't you go ahead and tell some of the folks in the chat who you are and what you do and why it was so important that you had to jump on here.
So yeah, I've been doing a YouTube channel for about a year. I just started up, and I printed a Mac 10 upper inside of a 3D printed receiver. I uploaded it to show my friends, and the next thing I know, it had 200,000 views. And I said, "Oh, people are actually interested in this. They might dig this." So probably about 40 3D printed guns later, I've got about 11,000 followers on YouTube, and that's continuing to grow. I was in the Makers match. I'll brag that I placed second in the pistol division, and I'll take first next year. So it was a good time.
Awesome. Yeah, the Makers match was incredible. I can't wait for March to get here to go again.
And I've moved on beyond just building and got into the design element as well. I started up with American Gunsmithing Institute. I did their classes and got certified through them. And I've been a big part of the Are We Cool Yet group in designing a lot of the XD series. We're bringing out the Springfield XD series. We're going to crack that whole line open. And as well as the scratch builds. I'm part of the Cobra 9 development team.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Looks like Rich is jealous of your shirts, no?
I had mine blown.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous of Jordan Vinroe's shirt there. I'm looking forward to getting mine in the mail next week.
This is exclusive.
There you go. But yeah, I had my mind blown at the Makers match at some of them custom designed 3D printed stuff. I had no idea that things was at that level, or that the capabilities was even there. It wasn't even something that I had thought of, because there's no publicity on it unless you're in this group that kind of shares that stuffs amongst each other. If you don't know about it, you ain't even gonna know what to look up to find that group.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of where I said, like, the whole thing is today's builder just might be tomorrow's John Browning. I mean, I follow all the stuff that Mr. Snow does. It's awesome stuff. So it's and that's kind of why to me Maker's Match is a little intimidating. I get to actually say that going from Montana to Florida to Maker's Match is just financially not feasible. It's just because I'm just intimidated.
Good evening. For those.
See, somebody's looking at my video in the background already. Like, who is that guy?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm trying to go in and sub you right now.
Yeah, it's been amazing I mean, how quickly things went from a Cody Wilson single shot 32 ACP Liberator to now we've got things like the FGC 9 as well as the pending Cobra 9 that are fully homemade builds, and you're marrying the technology. I mean, that's really what Jay Stark did, of marrying the technology of purely 3D printed builds, and then you put it together with the ECM chemical machining process to build your own barrel. And it blew the whole door open. So blowback guns, it's just a question of the weight of the bolt. We can almost do anything. And now you've got the Set Me kits out there, the Spanish design or HKG3 Set Me kits with a roller delay. So you've got 3D printed roller delay 308 rifles. It's incredible. It's really going to be a game changer.
That was probably the most wild thing I saw at that Maker's Match, at least in my mind. Something like a 308, a serious kind of caliber, and they're out there running the match with it on like a prototype beta, whatever. It's like, holy cow, like mind-boggling. So yeah, that totally opened my eyes to a whole new set of circumstances.
That and them 3D printed shotguns.
So that was Jeff Rodriguez with his Liberator 12Ks, or also known as the Cafe 12, that break open that he was using. My favorite I had two quick stories from the Maker Match, not to take over the stream or anything like that, but Jordan's right. When that 308 shot, no matter where you are on the range, you knew that somebody was shooting a 308. It was incredible. I mean, I'm 3 or 4 bays down, and you just heard that 308 thump, thump from across the entire range. Everybody stops and says, "I want to know what he's doing." It was really different. You got everybody out there with 9mm on their 3D printed guns, and you got one guy with a 308. He set himself apart.
Yeah.
One stage at the Maker's Match had reactive targets, and it was really interesting about the Maker's Match because there's a bit of a disconnect between, I'm going to be derogatory for a moment, the 3D printer nerd in their basement and a guy on the gun range. There's a bit of a disconnect. That a lot of these guys are out there making awesome stuff, but they don't actually get out there and shoot it. And so the Maker's Match was a wonderful blending of, let's take these guys that are kind of a solitary hobby that isn't normalized in our culture, and let's get them together and get them in a crew they can talk together. And that was a wonderful event. But there was a lot of failures. And at that reactive target station, I remember shooting it, and I asked the guy, I said, well, how have most of the guns done today? And he kind of looked at me and thought about it for a second. And his response was, I have not seen a single assault weapon today. That is for sure. Because most 3D printed guns, if you have not broken them in, if you've not used them a lot, it takes some skill to get them working.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I have yet to get into yet is actually 3D printing, but I've had my eyes on printers on Facebook for the last month or so, so hoping to change that.
Well, what's funny is the prices have come down so much. You know, when I bought my Ender 3, they were like $300. Now they're like $150. And it's just like, man, that's just, I can't, I'm at the point where it's like, I need to go buy another one just because it's $150.
Yeah.
Well, when you have more than one and it's something's going to take 30 hours to print, you can break it up.
I'm just letting you know the Prusa XL did get pre-ordered today.
I saw that. I saw that on your Facebook. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I've been waiting for that for a year and a half. So I mean, I've got a Voron 2.4. I'm in the middle of that build. I pre-ordered the Prusa XL. I'm going all in on all that stuff. So if it's out there, I pretty much have one.
Man, I'm jealous. I'm way jealous right now. Well, I was jealous when Jordan got his Ender 5. Now it's just like, holy crap.
Yeah,
that's nothing.
Yeah. It's going to be eight months or so before those come out. Hey, Jordan, I saw that occasionally one of the things that JSD does is they donate some of their money to GOA. Is that correct?
Yeah, we did GOA in Pennsylvania. I forget what it's called. Jordan, maybe you remember. For a couple of these local elections and stuff like that. So we donated to that here recently. So we'll do another something, probably some kind of matching thing or whatever. We'll run something towards the end of the year here, Black Friday or something maybe. So
yeah, all of that is huge, and it really makes a difference for everything we're doing at GOA. So we're greatly appreciative of that. So yeah, absolutely,
and it works too. I mean, we know where it's going. We see it. We're out there. Val in Pennsylvania, the PA director, he got together like a lobbying day, and I've never done anything like that. Like I'm new to the activist side of this, business or industry. So me and Putang went, and we got to meet up with a few other people that are more involved in that aspect than we are. So it was totally a learning day for me. But you just kind of walk into the Capitol building, and I'm here to see whoever. They're like, oh, well, their office is 203, and you walk in. Like I don't know. To me, it's like you don't set an appointment really, or maybe I think we had preset appointments. But these people aren't rock stars. They're not movie stars. They're not celebrities. They're regular people. We need to treat them that way. And we need to speak to them as if they're regular people and not some higher level, supreme being that decides for us. We decide for them what they should be voting on, and if they don't, like Jordan said earlier, we need to get them out and get them out early. If they're not going to support what we put them in there for. So doing stuff like that, getting involved, even with little things like that, showing up to the their offices, I think that's huge in their mind. They see you face to face. They put a face in a group with a name and with an email and say, okay, these guys are serious, or girls. They're here knocking on the door. So that adds, I think, way more than just sending an email or a phone call. So and grassroots is where it's at. I think so. We don't have the money that Bloomberg's and all those type of guys do. So working hand in hand with GOA and going out there and actually showing up and doing the work is what makes a difference.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And we like to say at GOA, when politicians feel the heat, they see the light. And we like to see them put on the political heat so they see the light and everything. And we need to remember that elected officials, we're their boss, not the other way around.
Yeah.
And, you know, we can decide to hire and fire them at the people's will. So sometimes it's good to remind them of that.
Well, and the thing, like, you know, like Jordan Vinroe was saying about, you know, we don't have the money of Bloomberg. You don't need the money of Bloomberg. You have home court advantage. You're there. You can vote for them or not. You can make their life, you know, difficult at times. So they have to do, and like you're all saying, they're not our overlords. They're there because we put them there. We put them there for a reason. And if they don't do their job, it's our job to get them out and put someone else in there that will do it. You know, and there's a lot of times that I speak on my channel about the ruling class. That's what politics has become. It's the ruling class. You know, they've exempted themselves from all the rules. You're going to do.
He was making such a good point too.
Sorry, we just got a Amber Alert that came through, and it's driving my phone nuts. No, I mean that's the whole thing. Is we got this ruling class above us, and then people just treat them like they're celebrities and gods and stuff like that. It's like, no, I put you there. You're there. I am your boss. You're not my boss. So we need to make sure that we tell these people. We need to get active locally and tell our people, even our federal representatives, they still got to come back to our states sooner or later.
Yeah, it was a tough day.
It's a very good point. It
was a tough day when I cut up my bump stock.
Yeah. You see, and that pisses me off on that stuff. I mean, when I was in FFL and the bump stocks were big, I never saw the big deal about it. I looked at them like, okay, that's cool. It's not for me, but if somebody wants to own it, I don't care. But when the government came in and said, you own something, and we're going to tell you to cut it up, or else you're a felon. It don't work that way. I'm sorry.
And that's the deal with compromise, right? Like today's bump stocks is tomorrow's race pistol or homemade gun, right? You know, that's why we can never concede. We can never give ground, no matter if the people doing it have an R or D beside their name. And that's why we had to say, no, that's an infringement, that's wrong, and we're going to sue you over it. So we can never give an inch. And at GOA, we want to not only just stop the bleed, we want to take our rights back and go on the offense and repeal all the laws. So.
Well, and it's like, you know, and the thing that pisses me off is common sense gun laws. No, it doesn't work like that. Like, you know, you can't have 30 rounds, but you can have 10. Well, then 10 becomes 5.
Right.
You know, and then 5, you know, you're just going to continue to give up ground, because all they're doing is they're chipping away little by little. I mean, not to change subjects, but they've done this in the education system. They've chipped away at the kids. You know, we're not going to go after the adults. We're going after the kids, and then eventually, you know, we're going to get that through. The same thing with guns. We're going to, because 10 rounds is sensible, because we all know that in the movies, the 11th round is the one the car blows up on, you know? So we got to protect you from, you know, blowing that car up. So we're going to say you can only have 10. It's bull. I mean, it's, you know, okay, now you're going to have I live in Montana. I mean, there's not a lot of laws here. You know, people wanted to put in waiting periods, and we're like, no way in hell that's going to go here, because, you know, a 7-day waiting period, what's going to make it 7 days is okay, but tomorrow it's not 7 days, now it's 14 days. 14 days becomes 30. You slowly start losing your rights. I mean, you don't lose your rights all at once. You lose them over time.
Absolutely.
Well, you do know, Rogue, though, if you need 30 rounds to hunt, you're
It's a
just
lot
bad hunter.
harder to undo it once something's been done.
It was never about hunting, first off.
Well, there's that little part that nobody seems to care about, though.
Yeah,
and where you see a 30-round 223 magazine, I see a 10-round 450 Bushmaster.
Exactly. Or 50
So I am in compliance with my 450 Bushmaster.
Well, I was gonna
You
say
are.
the same thing, but 50 Beowulf, so you know.
Yeah.
And it's still a standard capacity magazine.
Yeah, I'm getting pissed off with the high capacity stuff. It's not a high capacity magazine. It's a standard capacity magazine. You know, I mean, you get down to the point that, you know, people like 30 rounds is high capacity. No, it's not. It's standard capacity. Reduced capacity is anything you guys tell us that we can do.
Standard capacity is whatever mag I have at the time.
Exactly. Exactly. That mag was designed for that many bullets. That's standard capacity.
Yeah, Rod, you ain't actually mentioned anything about what y'all do. Why don't y'all tell some of the folks out there that's new to the chat what y'all do over at Aegis Gun Care?
We make a standard capacity lube and solvent. Firearms. It's also pre-ban and assault lube and solvent. So we're going after it all.
Do you have standard capacity oil solvent traps as well? Is that something you got?
Yes, we do. Yes, 100%. No, really. Yeah, we make lube and solvent is our main product. We have like I always tell people, I'm extremely biased. But we have the best stuff on the market. And if I'm ever around somebody to show you, I can prove it. For some of the reasons, because I know you hear a lot of people say our stuff is engineered. People want to throw it around. Ours really is. You know, it's meant, our lube's meant to do certain things for firearms and for metal in general. And one of them is being heavier than water. Go grab any lube you have in your house and go pour it in water and see what happens. It's going to float on the surface of the water. And that's not displacing water. It's really not helping your firearm a whole lot. And then we have our solvent is just incredible. And to throw it out there, since we're talking about 3D printing guns and DIY, our solvent's good on all materials. It's not going to hurt your 3D printed stuff at all. So that's our main thing, what we do. And we're here before too long. I can't talk too much about it, but we're about to announce some things. Our products are just about to get better. They were already so good, I didn't think we'd get better, but sometimes chemists can just blow you away, some of the stuff they do. So we're going to take great products and make them even better. So, and
there you go.
That's the difference with ours is a synthetic lubricant, and it really works. I mean, and I appreciate everybody that's bought it and tries it. And a lot of times you get people that are skeptical because we've all been around guns forever. Every time there's a lube or solvent coming out, it's the best in the world. It does like this. It's liberal tears. It smells like bacon. There's always something, you know, and I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying, but that's what we do. And we also make gun cleaning kits to go along that we built around our lube.
Awesome. And that anybody that actually does try it will see that it's not just talk.
Well, since I'm on your site about to order some, do you have any discount codes out there?
Yeah, right. It's going across the bottom of the screen. If you do #JoeJuice, you'll get 15% off. And no, that doesn't have anything to do with Biden. Okay. So let's not. There's no Hunter Juice or Joe Juice. It's So yeah.
Well, I got one in my cart. It's on the way. I'm going to try it out as a 3D printing community. I will let you know.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love all input. I mean, I always say knock on wood, I've never got any bad input yet. But if somebody has something they see wrong with it, we love it. We all want to hear it. Absolutely do. Because you can't get better if everybody around you is afraid to tell you something's wrong.
Yeah.
Whether it be the packaging or anything, you know. So You just can't have yes people. So we appreciate it.
Well, the one thing I really like about your cleaner, other than it works really great, is that you don't have to like open up 4 windows, put a fan in the window, and just so you can breathe. You know, that's one thing that always drove my wife nuts cleaning guns. Is you clean guns, you stink the house up of chemicals. This stuff is not anywhere near. So
Yeah, no,
that's funny.
I miss Duncan.
Blame the chemicals.
No, but it's just kind of nice is that you don't have to worry about making sure that your family has to leave the house after you clean your guns afterwards.
Yeah, no, there's no horrible odors or anything. I mean, the lube's got a little bit of odor to it, but most of the people we talk to that do a review on it, I say, oh, actually, it smells good.
Yeah.
So I'm around it so much anymore, I don't even smell it. I don't even notice. To me, they don't have odors. I'm so used to it. So it's a different thing. But no, we appreciate it. Appreciate all the support and everything. And I always just ask people, give it a try. If you don't like it, throw it in the trash and go back to your hobbies or whatever. Not a problem. Not going to hurt my feelings. So that's kind of about that. I'm just been doing this for quite a long time now, and this new company, Jsd, is a new company, so we're giving this one a run. I almost slip and say the old company all the time, so you got to catch myself because said that name for 6 years, 7 years. But anyway,
that's a tough one to get used to.
Oh yeah, and it's like I think it was Shooting Gallery New England a couple weeks ago said it on his show, and he acted like it was the Antichrist. I'm like, it's okay,
I was actually on that show with him. I remember when that happened because I was sitting there, I was looking, and I was like, okay, I got there, and then I have some old bottles of the other company stuff still sitting there. I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of use them interchangeably sometimes too.
Oh well. Well, I just now read the thing, and I guess we have a new product use thanks to Dark. It's whitens his teeth. But not cool. And the other thing I love is when people try it on different things. I don't want to make this show about us. It's not. It's about what you're doing. But we just had a customer. His wife used it on her bike in the Florida Triathlon, and they said it worked absolutely amazing. So that's cool. But enough about us. Jump back to what we're all talking about.
Well, I was thinking it could be like in Seinfeld where they were talking about the Hennigan's alcohol, the no smell, no tell. I could be buzzed right now, but you can't smell it.
I have a brief confession. I've never watched Seinfeld or Friends.
Yeah, same.
I've never watched Friends, but a lot of Seinfeld.
But have you ever watched Game of Thrones?
Never.
Nope.
You do know my name, right?
I'm about to say
well, yeah, I know your name. I was gonna say,
I've actually read all the books and watched the shows. So another quick story that Jordan Stein will like about the Makers Match in Florida is, of course, we had Vice making a documentary there at the Makers Match, which was a big risk from Rob Pincus to bring in Vice, of all people, into a home-built gun maker match and say, come on in and hang out with us. I'm sure you'll do great work by us. But it was actually quite popular. I'm amazed at how many people, after watching that documentary, said, this looks like a good group of guys, and I want to get into this. But the reporter that was there during the prize giveaway at the end of the day, the door prizes, the reporter from California was given a lifetime membership to Guns of America.
Wonderful. Good for him.
So, I forgot about that. Yeah.
So our California first-time shooter, first-time gun builder is now a lifetime member hooked up to be guided and directed by Guns Owners of America, and I'm really happy about that.
It's the best that has ever happened to him. I guarantee it.
That's what I'm talking about. You know, making waves and changing lives.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad Vice was there. You know, getting this to the mainstream is you know, one of the goals I said I had, but that's the way you got to do it. You got to get people that kind of understand our side of it, and you need to reach out to people on, you know, the other side of the issue and let them experience it for themselves. That guy was laughing the entire time he was there. His camera crew was having a good time. He screwed up his build a few times and swapped out parts, and you know, I guess that's my fault since he used my slide and components there on his first go at it. But so that was awesome. I think that really is going to propel us forward.
It's definitely exposure, but I have to say there was a moment during the Vice documentary while he was building his Glock with your parts from JSD, and he was using a bastard file as a hammer, and it just really hurt my heart to watch that file being used as a hammer on.
What else is he supposed to use? That's what was in his hand.
Well, it speaks
Never
to
touch
the
that file again.
it speaks to the heart that if he can do it,
Right.
anybody can do it.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Honestly, that was like part of my best. My favorite parts from that video was them showing him building it and not using the right stuff and still getting it done.
Yeah.
Because I said we can joke about it having done stuff the right way, but really, and as Rogue was mentioning earlier, especially when you're starting with 80%, there's really is quite a bit of room for error to still get it function. It might not like Mr. Snow was saying, it ain't gonna be no assault nothing. You gonna have to tweak it and stuff, but to get it to at least work and safely work, there's a pretty good room for error for as a starting project to get people into things. And that's where folks like JSD Supply come in.
Quick, Jordan, JSD the Supply. You guys make just full slides, not just regular slides. You guys sell them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So Patmos Arms is our other brand. So that's for all of our lower parts kits, slide parts kits, slides, barrels. That's our in-house brand, I guess you could say. So yeah, that's what we sell. Yeah.
I need a new slide for my Glock 43.
Yeah.
The one I currently have has my old company laser engraved in the side of it.
Yeah. All right.
So I need a new slide for my.
Yeah.
We got a guy for that.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're gonna have some light. All you gotta do is just put it into another laser and just cut some lightning windows into it.
I could just break out my Dremel, couldn't I, and do some gunsmithing?
It'd be a real ghost gun then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dremel's the new duct
if you
tape.
need to learn how to build the slide, I have a video on how to build Jordan's slide.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it you,
put myself
Mr.
out
Snow,
of it.
that does have an actual ghost gun with the ghost on the bottom of your mag?
I do. That was actually made by a friend of Jordan and I's at 2A 3D Print. He designed a +3 extension that looks like a little ghost. And yeah, it's really cool. It glows in the dark and everything. It's a lot of fun. He does every Halloween. He makes a one-off +3 3D printed mag extension that kind of a collectible.
Cool.
I want to mention this comment from Armitage. I'll let JSD answer it first. He asked, JSD, any plans for an aluminum Glock frame?
So nothing from us. We looked into it probably maybe 4 years ago or so. There was a company producing them. They kind of like halfway went out of business. I called them to buy their molds. They were cast and then machined after the fact. But it was like in just an absurd amount of money per part to cast them. So we've talked about it. Machining them is pretty difficult for any kind of production scale and price wise. There's a guy, and I got to look it up because this was brought up on the last show I was on. He's got two halves. They're aluminum, and he machines a left side and a right side, and they bolt together. So he threatened to make some 80%. So I'm hoping to see that come out. But I don't know that you're going to see it. Alpha Foxtrot has an aluminum or some kind of steel Glock frame. We talked to them, tried to convince them to make us some 80s, but they're not real interested in that, I don't think. Zev's product, I had a conversation with their CEO. We talked about doing an 80 there, but I don't know, what kind of exposure they want on that type of a product whenever they're more of a 100% FFL type of manufacturer. But it's possible, I suppose. We might try to do something along the same lines as a Zev product with like an insert, like we do right now with the P320 or the P365, just to kind of think outside the box, I guess, and potentially avoid some state restrictive laws, like California. You need to have, if it's a metal framed gun, then you're fine. But if it's plastic, it has to have 3.7 ounces of stainless in it. So we could get around that by producing a insert type of Glock frame like the Zev would be. So we have all kinds of ideas kicking around. So that kind of brings me to my next thought is, we can't do any of that if this rule changes. So, we're really hoping that nothing happens, or GOA or any of these other groups end up suing and getting an injunction or a stay or whatever it would be. We've been holding back this last year of coming out with anything new. We have some substantial ideas that we're kicking around and working on in the background, but not only with the Glock product, but several other different things. We want to mix it up. We want to have an option for everything. So we're going to do what we can, as long as the rule change doesn't prevent us from doing that.
Yeah, and I'll chime in a little bit here. It's hard to say exactly what they're going to do. I know, lots of comments were submitted, and I can promise you at GOA, we're going to do everything possible to fight this, even if we have to take it to the Supreme Court. That this is a line in the sand, and we're gonna stand firm 110% behind this. So, it's sad, but when we have to fight things in the courts like this, but it's something we have to do, and we look forward to doing it and winning. So.
That's great. Like I said, y'all literally boots on the ground and putting money where your mouth is when it comes to fighting for our rights and not backing down and literally sticking to the no compromise stance. It's not just a saying with y'all.
It's not just a saying. It's almost like a lifestyle. It's who we are to our core, and people at GOA, it's just not theoretical for us. We own and carry guns, and we shoot and we hunt, and guns are a part of our lives. So we're invested into this. It's not just some thought exercise, we're just like every other gun owner, to be honest. Carrying guns and because we don't make David Shipman kind of money or Michael Bloomberg kind of money. We can't afford hired security to protect us. So a lot of times it's just me and my Glock 19 to protect me. So it's how we are, and we're gun people too, and we're in the fight just like everyone else. So.
You talk about voter turnout and how important that is, and I'm always fascinated at the ATF comment period. When I think about the sheer volume of gun owners in America, we only got 300,000 people to comment on the receiver definition. And I mean, I know a ton of us in our circles were really pushing that message hard to get people out there to make those comments. And yeah, I don't know what we're going to do to get more people involved instead of, like somebody was saying earlier, that gun owners just kind of want to be left alone, but that's not really an option.
Yeah, 100%. You know, there's a saying that you may not have an interest in politics, but politics sure as heck has an interest in you. And when you become a gun owner, you are automatically political. You don't have a choice, you know, because once you have that gun, now you're in the battle with us to fight it. It's difficult to make people to make that realization, but I think more people are waking up to it. I certainly hope that the 8 million new gun owners or whatever it is that we had in 2020 are realizing that as well. So.
Yeah, I was just fixing to mention that we got a whole lot of new folks in the gun community now, and I don't see them really going anywhere no time soon. Since they pretty much woken up to how things was that led them to getting their first gun in the first place. Their eyes are open now. It's like I was mentioning with what Rogue said earlier about our rights getting taken away, chipped at here and there. Once that box is open, it's a lot harder to close it back up, and it goes that same way. Like for the folks, once their eyes is open, it's a lot harder to bury your head in the sand again once you know what's actually going on around you.
Definitely. I think gun ownership's going towards, more self-defense, home defense, property defense versus hunting. I read an article the other day, and, I'm going to make up the numbers, but 20 years ago, the gun shops were full of, Remington 700, 30-06 rifles and Winchester shotguns or whatever, make it up, lever action guns. And now they can't get enough black guns. They can't get enough pistols and Glocks and Springfields and, whatever the gun of choice is. So I think the nation has changed on how we view firearms and who needs them and why we need them. The talking points were always, it's for hunting. And we've all said tonight, and we say it all the time, it's not for hunting. It's for defense of ourselves, of our country, against a tyrannical government is why it was created. So I think you're starting to see that cultural change, and there's proof of that with constitutional carry being adopted, broadly across the United States right now. I never thought that was an option. I was born and raised in Pennsylvania. We've basically always had a license to carry firearms. You just went and got one, and you get it renewed every year, and that's just how it goes. But a lot of states are now, New York, they're fighting to have carry permits. I don't know the details there, but to have them in general, really. So that's at the Supreme Court right now. So hopefully we get a win there, and it starts trickling through the rest of the country. But the culture is changing, and it's changing in our favor, and it's great to see that happen and be a small part of it, but to at least share in that that excitement.
Well, that's how they always say there's good things come out of tragedies and bad situations. The last year and a half, 2 years, all the rioting and the anarchy and chaos, it's woke a lot of people up on how important the two-way really is. And absolutely. I know people in Houston, our gun stores before I left there, that in the last year would have never thought of getting a gun. They didn't care about the two-way, and then everything on TV and in the big cities, people start seeing it, and it was like, oh, wow, this is an important right. I want a gun now. So yep. There's something good has come out of that.
I just wish they'd stop buying all my ammo.
Yeah, exactly.
Just print your own. Come on.
Yeah. Hey, man, that's happening. That's actually a real thing, and that is really cool. Some of that stuff going on there with Suckboy Tony and Atlas Arms. 3D printed ammo is on the way. Amazing stuff they're doing. I still have.
Yeah, that was one of the first.
I still have a back pile of primers. Still have a back pile of primers that I'm sitting on. I almost feel bad when I walk into my armory room and I got 40,000 primers sitting on a shelf, and people are like, "Can I have just a few?"
No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have that many. You don't have them. You use them up.
They're on my videos all the time. I mean, it's okay.
Yeah.
He had
Yeah.
is the key word.
I
I
heard
think you
you
just
invest.
misunderstood him.
Yeah.
I think he said 4,000.
I heard you invested in a lot of PVC pipe and end caps and shovels.
All
There
over
you go.
America.
But it brings a whole new meaning to Johnny Appleseed. But yeah, it's we're over the hour and a half mark now, so I'm gonna go ahead and wind things down. I'm gonna have to go pick up Miss Swamp Dog here in a little bit. Anyways, I'll go around the room and let y'all tell everybody where they can find you and do all that good stuff. We'll start at the bottom this time and go backwards. We'll start with Jordan Stein.
Yeah, well, thanks for letting me hang out with y'all tonight. If you're not already, you can become a member of GOA at gunowners.org. We got different membership level options. You got the annual membership, a Patriot membership, which is kind of a mid-tier, and a life membership. If you like what I said tonight, check us out at gunowners.org, and then on this social media platforms, you can find me personally at just as Jordan K. Stein. So nice and simple if you want to check me out there. So, but I really appreciated being on and hanging out with y'all. So thanks, guys.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciated you coming on. Let's go to you, Jordan number 2.
Yeah, so I want to give another plug to GOA. We're working with Eagle Shows up in Pennsylvania here. So if you have a GOA membership, bring it to the show. You get $1 off of admission, or if you're not a GOA member, you can sign up at the show, get a discount on your membership and admission. So that's where I'm at right now, waiting for the show to start tomorrow. But yeah, you can find JSDSupply.com, Instagram, Facebook. We're pretty involved in a lot of the groups on Facebook and 3D printing communities. So yeah, thanks for having us on, Swamp. I'm glad to be here with everybody, and yeah, like what everybody's got going on. So thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, well, I got a few things in my cart saved to pick up shortly from y'all too. And let's go to Mr. Snow.
I am just a guy that loves guns and being an advocate for technology and freedom and showing what's possible. Just as my bio says, and most of my stuff, I like to make stuff. I'm not running a firearm business. I'm not running anything. I'm just putting out good content and having a great time. My favorite thing of starting this journey about a year ago has really just been the relationships that I've made along the way. Because isn't that what's really important? The friends we made along the way. So it's been a blast. You can find me on YouTube at Mr. Snow Makes, Instagram, and Twitter as well.
Awesome. Yeah, y'all go check him out. He's got some really cool videos of some of the stuff he's making. One of the things outside of guns that he does is he does some prop making stuff that's pretty cool.
Those are just gifts I give away.
Now go to Rogue.
Yeah, you can reach me on YouTube or actually just about any social media platform. Just search for the Rogue Banshee and you'll find me and the videos I make and the podcasts I produce. And I want to actually give an extra plug out to GOA. Definitely go out and get a membership. There was a meme that went out a while ago that I absolutely believe. I'm not going to mention the other organization, but GOA does more with $1 than the other organization does with $1 million. So make sure that if you're gonna trust your gun rights to an organization, GOA is the way to go. Thanks for having me on.
That.
Yeah, I can't echo what you said enough, brother. And last but not least, Rod with Aegis Gun Care, the sponsor of the podcast.
Yeah, like I said before, explain what we all do. I mean, we can be found at aegisguncare.com. I have a YouTube channel, but I just was playing with it, did a few promo stuff explaining our products. So I'm not really into that. I'm not a creator. But mainly I'm on Instagram. It's Aegis Gun Care. I appreciate anybody going over there and following us there and boosting those numbers up a little bit. And like I said, you can see it scrolling on the bottom. Anybody wants to buy anything on our website, if you feel so inclined to throw us a couple dollars, if you use hashtag JoJuice, you'll get 15% off of your order. And we also have these pretty dang cool shirts, hats, all kinds of neat stuff too. So that's about it. And thanks for inviting me on the show, Swamp. I appreciate the hell out of it. And I will be doing business with JSD. As soon as that's back in stock, I will be getting one.
Yeah, shoot us an email, support@jsdsupply.com.
Awesome.
And Aegis, I can confirm at
Glad
least
I was
one.
able to facilitate that.
I can confirm at least one sale from the stream tonight so far. That was mine.
Well,
I got you one.
I got one
them
too.
right here.
So.
I thank you both, gentlemen. I got them right here. They popped up. They will both go out in the morning.
That was amazing that I purchased on your site and I had a text message on my phone that confirmed that order immediately. That's really an awesome system you got going there. That's really cool.
The other thing that I'm trying to do, and we get orders, but not enough that I can't do it. We try real hard to get, like your guys' orders will go out first thing in the morning. Under 12, 24 hours of the most, by the time we get the order, they leave.
Awesome.
You know, because I'm one of them people too. When I order something, I want it at my door right now. You know, I think when I order within an hour, UPS should be showing at my door.
Well, that might be a thing coming soon with these Walmart and Amazon drones and stuff now.
Well,
no, I'm building something for that. I'm going to fix it.
Well, in Houston, they had that. What did they call it? They still do it. Amazon Now or whatever they called it. You could certain zip codes out there. If you ordered something, you could have it at your house in under 2 hours.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, there ain't nothing like that out this way.
Yeah, not out here either.
It takes us 25 minutes just to get to a Walmart.
Well, I'm 4 or 5 miles from a huge Amazon facility, and it still doesn't get here for a couple days.
But yeah, like I said, I'm fixing to end it now. I wanted to thank y'all for coming on and thank all of y'all that's been out there in the chat tonight. Thanks for showing your support and watching, and y'all have always been real active. Helps a lot bringing up different topics and stuff, and some of y'all is wittier than me or any of the guests. You always make us laugh too. So I'll end it by saying y'all be good, and I'll see y'all next week.